Hi everybody, Happy New Year. I've been off Instagram for a couple of weeks over the holidays, and I wanted to share the few things that I noticed happen during this time, both directly as a result of not being on Instagram and also the obviously after effects of that break. It's been a super interesting time for me. I made the decision to just break because I noticed I was getting too irresponsible with how I was using it. I was spending too much time without really a proper purpose for being on it. Obviously it's a business tool for me and less of a kind of connection with friends and family, but it grew to the last few months to become something that was taking up more time than I wanted it to. And the other reason why I wanted to switch off was that I wanted to actually take some time off work, and being on Instagram is linked to my work, and I really want to give myself the opportunity to disconnect completely. I didn't have a time frame. I knew I wanted to do it for at least a week. It extended to just over 2 weeks, I think. And I decided to come back because I felt that I have now the clarity to use it in a way that I want it to be used, in a way that feels helpful and fun, and plays a role in my life that I wanted to play, rather than taking over parts of my life. So I'll just tell you the main points. I've put some things down because there was quite a few that I thought I would share with you. And it might inspire you to take a break as well if you're using any social media and sort of using or abusing, and you want to give yourself a break. But it might also inspire you to just become more aware of how you use these tools and what you do with them, and how you feel while being on those websites or whatever apps. So there was definitely an instant excitement when I decided to switch off the app. I actually deleted the app off my phone completely. I do not have the self-restraint not to go on it, unfortunately, and I knew that from previous times. So it's actually possible to delete your app and still keep all of your information, so nothing is lost. You can just download it back from the app, whatever. What's it called? The Apple app that has all the apps. God, this sounds so totally useless. Anyway, so all your information remains on the app when you decide to reuse it again. So when I deleted the app, I felt so free. So I knew immediately that it was the right thing to do. And I think that lasted for a couple of days where I was totally happy, didn't even need to go on it. I didn't have any desire, I didn't miss it at all. However, very quickly after those 1 or 2 days, I noticed that there were empty moments in my day, more so because I wasn't teaching. I didn't see any clients during the holidays. So it was, the gaps were much bigger than they would be in my normal week. But even so, there were empty moments which I never noticed before, apart from when I'm on holiday, but the routine is quite different. And I know that that is because I would fill them with doing something. It's not necessarily always with, Instagram, but there's that, there's those little pauses and little breaks within the day that we tend to kind of grab the phone and like check what's on there and interact with people on the phone and respond to emails and da-da. And because I had switched off work, the contrast was bigger. But the majority of the time, if I'm honest, I would probably be on Instagram. And I noticed how many times per day at the initial period of this detox, I reach for the phone. and then I put it down because the app wasn't there. There was that self-restraint, so when I reached for the phone, before I remembered that there's no app, I consciously remembered, oh wait, I'm not doing that, I don't need to do that. But there was a lot of, I noticed so many times repeatedly, my brain kind of searching or having the urge to go onto Instagram for no reason. I didn't want to post. So it was definitely an addiction. It was definitely that, so, you know, unconscious need to go back on it to get that hit. And that really links with the feeling that I was craving, that there's nothing going on and I need to make sure I get something. So I want to feel something, I want to feel that entertainment, or I want to feel that satisfaction, or I want to feel like I am connecting with someone, that there's some sort of activity in my life, and those empty moments felt emptier for the first few days because I wasn't getting that fake hit of happiness, I guess. And this is where it becomes an addiction, because the more, you know, when you check your Instagram, you see that there is, like, you know, you've got messages or people like your things or da da da, you know, you get a hit of happy hormones, and that is where, you know, our brain wants more and more and more and more, which basically makes it unhealthy, because the more you crave, the more you need, and the less satisfied you are. And obviously with things like social media, it's an artificial effect. You know, my biggest realization, which actually I didn't have ever before, this was the first time I realized this at such an extent, and I have had previous breaks from Instagram and Facebook and all of that. I mean, I don't use Facebook that much anymore, but I never saw this to this extent. And this realization was that Instagram, my interactions in on Instagram, were masking real life connection, and that scared the shit out of me. I could not believe how much I was craving real connection, how many people I called, how much I wanted to just, you know, contact people and have a chat and meet them for coffee, and see them face to face, or even speak to them on the phone, and how much of that was not necessary when I was on Instagram, because I felt like I was in relationship with other people, because obviously there's interaction, there is connection, but especially the last few months, I had become quite withdrawn. I didn't feel like I wanted to be around too many people, and I was going through a sort of not very social phase, which is fine, but it came, and it's a combination of reasons why. I won't get into them right now, but I believe now what part of what made it more intense was the fallacy that I was connected, that Instagram was giving me that satisfaction, that I am in contact with people, that I am having discussions on a daily basis, that people understand me, that I'm giving something, I'm taking something, getting something back. And it is amazing how, you know, essentially talking to a machine, because yes, there is another person behind those messages, but it's through a machine, and it gives that illusion of connection, that illusion of relationship, and it's very dangerous when that becomes enough and you don't feel like you need that much in your real life. It was never to the point where I didn't want to see people, or I didn't want to, you know, do the normal things, but I'm mentioning this because I know that because I am an introvert and I love my own company and I prefer to stay in my own bubble, I have to really push myself, and I have to be in the right mood to go out and be around lots of people, especially because my work is with people all the time. So I do really have to balance that. But I noticed that Instagram really was getting in the way. Like being off Instagram, I just called, I mean, I keep saying that, but I called so many people and I loved speaking to them. And it just reminded me that there is no real substitute. There's no substitute to real communication. And obviously face-to-face if possible, if not phone, rather than messaging, and speaking to people directly in real time is just incredibly important. The final thing I want to mention, because I don't want this video to be too long, was that I noticed that just being on the app was making me feel anxious, and that is probably a lot of reasons. You know, there's a lot of kind of subconscious comparing yourself to others, you know, your real life with the perceived life of others. Obviously what people choose to share is not real, but that's what we see, and therefore that's what we have to compare ourselves to. All of that is super unhealthy, very, you know, stress inducing. There's always that sense that I should be doing more. I should be working more, I should be resting more, I should have better holidays, better house, better clothes, better hair, better body, all this crap. And even if intellectually I don't subscribe to these beliefs, emotionally and subconsciously while being on the app, you're constantly being exposed to that. And I did quite a lot of unfollowing before I switched off, which was really helpful. I never really followed accounts I wasn't, you know, I wasn't happy with, or I wasn't in alignment with, but it came to the point where there was so much noise that it stopped me from actually getting something useful from the app itself. So moving forward, what I'm committing to, and this is what I invite you to do, is to be much more mindful about our use of these tools. They, you know, these are amazing tools. They do promote connection. They do, you know, connect us with people all around the world. I've made some incredible friendships actually through Instagram. I've met incredible clients. You know, it allows me to build my business to something that, you know, is international, but it has to be a tool that we control and not something that controls us. So if it slips to misuse, or if it becomes addictive, then there has to be a point where we recognize and we have to either stop or temporarily switch off and reset our rules. We have to set some boundaries. As adults, we don't have anyone telling us what to do in these sorts of ways, and we have to set our own rules, and without these rules things can become quite dangerous. So for me, there's two things I'm doing, actually three things I'm doing. One is to have the timer set, so all social media apps switch off at a certain time in my day, so I'm not able to use them anymore. I am considering putting a time limit for a daily use on Instagram, but I haven't done that yet, but that is something to consider. The second thing I'm doing is just mindful use of the app. So what is my intention behind, you know, when I reach for my phone and check it, and, you know, is it the 5th time, the 10th time, the 100th time in that day that I'm checking it? You know, why am I going on there? Am I trying to fill up time? Am I trying to avoid a certain emotion that I don't really want to feel, like boredom or unhappiness or anxiety? You know, what is it that I'm doing? Am I posting? Am I interacting? Am I responding to messages? And if it's none of these three, what am I doing? And if I just want to, it's fine to scroll, it's fine to stay up to date if there's things you want to stay up to date with, but put a time limit. You know, I'm going to spend 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 15 minutes and that's it. So these are the sort of, you know, the key things that I'm taking away from this break, I definitely do intend to do another one later on in the year, and earlier if I need to. But I really hope that this inspires you to check in with yourselves and really just become clear on, okay, is this a tool for me, or am I, have I allowed myself to become addicted or use it in a way that's not helpful anymore? I really love being online. I think it's amazing, and I want to be able to continue using it, which is why I'm setting these rules and boundaries. Thank you so much for listening. Let me know if you have questions, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.